There are some feelings so specific, so human, and so deeply rooted in a people's way of life that another language simply cannot hold them. That is what makes the Irish language so fascinating. Because hidden inside Irish are words that do not just describe things. They describe moods, relationships, griefs, joys, and kinds of belonging that English often has to chase with full sentences and still never fully catch. And that matters. Because when a language has a word for something, it means that feeling mattered enough to be noticed, repeated, remembered, and passed down. It means generations of people lived close enough to that experience that they gave it a name. So today, we are going to explore 21 Irish words with no true English translation. Some are beautiful, some are haunting, some are surprisingly practical, and some feel like they were invented just to explain parts of life most of us have felt, but never knew how to say. By the end, you may not just learn new words. You may start to see the Irish language as a map of the Irish soul. Let's begin. The first word is craic. Now, many people have heard this one, but very few understand it properly. Craic is often translated as fun, but that is far too weak. Craic is not just entertainment. It is not just laughter. It is not just a good time. Craic is the energy of a moment when people are fully alive together. It is the conversation, the mischief, the warmth, the jokes, the stories, the unexpected spark in the room. A night can have music and still have no craic. A kitchen with tea, old friends, and one person telling a ridiculous story can be full of it. English can say fun, atmosphere, banter, or good company, but none of those fully capture the living, social electricity of craic. The second word is cumha. Cumha is often translated as longing, but that does not go deep enough. Cumha carries a sense of absence wrapped in tenderness. It is the ache of missing someone, somewhere, or even some former version of life. It is not just sadness. It is a grief softened by memory. Cumha is the feeling of hearing an old song that reminds you of a person who is gone. It is standing in a place you once loved and feeling both comfort and pain at the same time. English has words like yearning, nostalgia, longing, sorrow. But cumha feels more intimate than all of them. It is memory with a wound in it. The third word is dúchas. This is one of the most powerful Irish words of all. Dúchas can loosely refer to heritage, inheritance, or the deep belonging between people and place. But none of those translations really do it justice. Dúchas is the sense that the land is not just where you live. It is part of who you are. It is the inherited bond between family, memory, tradition, and home ground. It is what makes a place feel like it knows your name, even if centuries have passed. English can say heritage or native tradition, but dúchas carries blood, memory, obligation, and belonging all at once. It is not just where you come from. It is what formed you before you even had words. The fourth word is uaigneas. This is usually translated as loneliness, but uaigneas is not always the loneliness of being abandoned. It can also be the deep solitude that comes from distance, silence, and emotional separation. Sometimes it is painful. Sometimes it is almost sacred. Uaigneas can be felt walking alone on a windy road at dusk. It can be felt in a quiet house after everyone has left. It can be the kind of loneliness that makes you listen more closely to your own soul. English says loneliness, solitude, isolation. But uaigneas seems to sit somewhere between sorrow and stillness. It does not merely describe being alone. It describes how aloneness feels when it becomes part of the landscape. The fifth word is mice. Mice is often translated as drunkenness, but even that is too blunt. In Irish usage, mice can carry a broader sense of intoxication, not only by drink, but by mood, beauty, excitement, or even love. Someone can be drunk on a song, on youth, on celebration, on freedom. It hints at that altered state when feeling becomes bigger than reason. English can say intoxication or giddiness, but mice can feel more poetic than either. It is the surrender of the self to an overwhelming atmosphere. The sixth word is gra. This one is often translated simply as love, but gra in Irish can feel deeper, softer, and more all-encompassing than the English word often sounds in modern use. Gra is affection, devotion, tenderness, and emotional warmth. It can describe romantic love, family love, spiritual love, or the gentle fondness held for a place, a tradition, or a person. English uses love for everything from favorite food to lifelong devotion. Gra feels less casual. It has weight. It has heart. It feels spoken from deeper in the chest. The seventh word is brón. Brón is usually translated as sorrow or sadness, but it often carries a richer emotional gravity than either. This is not the passing sadness of a bad day. Brón has depth. It is grief, heaviness, mourning, and emotional shadow. Brón can sit quietly in a family after loss. It can live in an old story. It can travel through generations. English can say grief or sorrow, but brón seems to include the silence around pain, not just the pain itself. The eighth word is suaimhneas. This word is often translated as peace or tranquility, but that does not fully capture it. Suaimhneas is deep inner stillness. It is peace that settles into the body. It is calm without tension hiding underneath. It is the feeling of sitting beside the sea after days of stress and suddenly noticing your breathing soften. It is the quiet of a room where nothing needs to be explained. English has peace, rest, calm, serenity. But suaimhneas feels warmer and more settled, as if the mind, body, and spirit have all agreed to be still at once. The ninth word is clan. This is often translated as children or family, but in Irish it has a wider sense of offspring, kin, and living continuation. Clan is not just a household. It is your people. It is the line that continues after you. It suggests both nearness and legacy. English uses family in a broad way, but clan often feels more rooted in shared life and inherited connection. It is not a technical label. It is a living branch from the same tree. The 10th word is cinealtas. This is usually translated as kindness, but not in the casual way we often use that word in English. Cinealtas feels like decency with heart in it. It is gentleness, generosity, and humane conduct. It is not performative niceness. It is goodness in how one treats others. English can say kindness, compassion, or goodwill, but cinealtas carries moral beauty. It feels like the kind of word a community would treasure because life is hard enough without cruelty. The 11th word is misneach. Misneach is often rendered as courage, but courage can sound dramatic in English, like something reserved for battlefields or heroes. Misneach includes bravery, yes, but also spirit, resolve, and heart under pressure. It is the courage to endure, to speak, to continue, to face sorrow without surrendering to it. It is the mother holding a family together. It is the person beginning again after loss. English says courage, nerve, grit. Misneach feels more human, less theatrical, more lived. The 12th word is suaimhneas. Suaimhneas means silence, but it is not always empty silence. It is often a meaningful quiet, a silence with presence in it, a silence that can comfort, unsettle, heal, or reveal. English says silence, hush, quiet. But suaimhneas can feel full rather than blank. It can be the silence in a church before prayer, the silence after bad news, or the silence between two people who no longer need to speak to understand each other. The 13th word is seanchas. This is a wonderful word. It is often translated as lore, oral history, or tradition, but those are only fragments of it. Seanchas is the body of remembered stories, local knowledge, genealogies, place memory, and inherited wisdom passed through speech. It is not just storytelling. It is cultural memory kept alive through telling and retelling. English can say folklore or oral tradition, but seanchas feels more personal and communal. It belongs to people who remember together. The 14th word is fáilte. This is often translated as welcome, but Irish fáilte is more than a greeting at the door. It carries the spirit of receiving someone with warmth, openness, and generosity of presence. English says welcome, but that can be formal or polite. Fáilte feels lived. It is the offering of belonging, even if temporary. It is the feeling that there is room for you here. The 15th word is brí. Brí can mean meaning, force, significance, or essence depending on context. That is exactly why it is hard to translate. Brí is what gives something weight from the inside. It is purpose and substance and inner strength all at once. A speech can have brí. A life can have brí. A sentence can lack brí even if the words are correct. English can say meaning, power, significance, but brí seems to ask a deeper question. Does this thing carry life in it? The 16th word is tacht. Tacht is often translated as sadness or melancholy, but it has a more reflective quality than that. It is a soft, thoughtful sorrow, the kind that comes in the evening, the kind that does not shout, the kind that sits quietly and thinks. English can say melancholy, wistfulness, pensiveness, but Tacht feels especially intimate, as if emotion has gone inward and become contemplative. It is sadness that has learned to speak softly. The 17th word is dúchas. Dúchas is usually translated as hope, but this one has special depth. It is not blind optimism. It is hope with trust in it, hope with expectation, hope that keeps moving even when certainty is impossible. English often reduces hope to wishful thinking. Dúchas feels sturdier than that. It is the kind of hope that people hold in hard times, not because life is easy, but because surrender would be worse. The 18th word is muaigneas. This is a beautiful and difficult word. It can suggest familiarity, closeness, kinship, or the sense of being connected through shared belonging. It is not necessarily intimacy in the private sense, and it is not merely friendliness. Muaigneas is the feeling of being among your own, or of being woven into a network of mutual recognition. English has no single word for that. We might say closeness, community bond, belonging, but muaigneas feels warmer and more natural than all of them. The 19th word is aisling. Many know aisling today as a female name, but the word itself means dream or vision. Yet, even that is incomplete. In Irish literary tradition, an aisling could be a poetic vision, often symbolic, revealing, or otherworldly. It is not just something seen while asleep. It is an encounter with meaning through image. English has dream, vision, revelation, but aisling carries poetic and emotional atmosphere that none of those fully hold on their own. It suggests something glimpsed that may be more true than ordinary waking life. The 20th word is seaimhneas? No, not that one. A better final cluster is one that returns us to the emotional core of the language. So the 20th word is cumha. Cumha can mean association, friendship, companionship, or society, depending on context. But at heart it suggests togetherness held by shared bond. It is not only organization. It is connection with shape and loyalty. English can split this into club, society, friendship, group. Cumha resists that neat division. It reminds us that human beings do not only gather for function. We gather for belonging. And the 21st word is anam. Anam means soul. That seems simple at first. English has the same word. But in Irish usage, anam often carries an intimacy and sacred depth that makes it feel larger than translation. It is the deepest self, yes, but also that inner life that connects love, grief, memory, and eternity. You hear it in expressions like anam cara, soul friend, a phrase that became widely known because it described a kind of friendship deeper than convenience or surface affection. Not merely companionship, but recognition at the level of being. And that may be the perfect final word because it reveals what so many of these Irish words are really doing. They are not merely labeling reality. They are protecting it. They are preserving the inner life of a people who paid attention to things that modern language often rushes past. The ache of absence, the holiness of silence, the bond between land and identity, the difference between being entertained and being fully alive together, the kind of hope that survives hardship, the warmth of being welcomed not as a customer or stranger, but as a person. In a world that often pushes language to become faster, flatter, and more practical, Irish reminds us that words can still carry mystery. They can still carry memory. They can still carry emotional precision. And maybe that is why untranslatable words matter so much. Because they show us the limits of translation, but also the possibilities of understanding. Even if English does not have the exact word, the feeling is still real. Once you hear it named, you recognize it. You think, yes, I know that feeling. I have lived that. I just never had the word for it before. That is one of the gifts of language. It does not merely help us speak to others. It helps us discover ourselves. And the Irish language, in particular, has a remarkable way of doing that. It takes emotions that might otherwise disappear into the blur of daily life and gives them shape. It tells us that longing is not all the same, that silence is not empty, that belonging can run deeper than geography, that sorrow can be thoughtful, that joy can be communal, that heritage can live in the land beneath your feet. These are not just beautiful old words from a fading language. They are evidence of a worldview, a way of seeing life not only through logic, but through mood, memory, and relationship. A way of understanding that people are formed by place, story, kinship, weather, loss, celebration, and spirit. A way of recognizing that the unseen parts of life are often the parts that matter most. And perhaps that is why so many people, even outside Ireland, feel drawn to Irish words once they encounter them. Because they do not feel artificial. They feel discovered. They feel like names for truths that were always there. So the next time you hear a word like craic, or cumha, or suaimhneas, or dúchas, do not think of it as just vocabulary. Think of it as a doorway. A doorway into how another people learn to feel, remember, survive, and belong. And maybe ask yourself a deeper question. What feelings exist in your own life that English never fully captures? What experiences have shaped you so deeply that ordinary words feel too small? What part of your own story is still waiting for the right language? If even one of these Irish words spoke to something in you, then the language has already done what great language always does. It has made you feel seen. If you enjoyed this journey into the Irish language, subscribe and join me for more videos on Irish history, hidden meanings, forgotten traditions, ancestry, and the deeper stories behind words people thought they understood. And in the comments, tell me which of these 21 Irish words touched you the most, and whether your own culture has a word that English cannot fully translate.